Hey students, welcome to Unit 1.3, Business Objectives. So what are business objectives? So business objectives are the goals that business aims to achieve, and the purpose is to control the activities and to guide the business planning. The function is the measuring of performance, and the characteristics are that these are very specific and measurable, and they should be quantitative. So goals that can be measured. So you could almost think in terms of some of those SMART goals, the characteristics of SMART goals that you may have learnt before. We have vision statements and mission statements in business, and we need to understand the difference. So a vision statement is basically it's where the business hopes to be in the future. So you could think about this in terms of an image of an ideal future situation. It's aspirational, so it's where the organization wants to be. And this provides some direction and guides the decision making of the business as well. And again, these need to be realistic and achievable. A mission statement, however, is a little different. It's a declaration of the purpose and the core values. So this is basically why the business exists. It defines the purpose, the objectives. It's broader and it's less specific than actual objectives. And this is updated a little bit more frequently than a vision statement is. So we can kind of link this whole idea of vision, mission, and objectives. The mission is the reason for existence. The vision is the long-term aspiration. Objectives generally specific, measurable steps to fulfill the mission. And without objectives, businesses often become directionless, like a taxi ride without any destination. It's important to understand these differences between vision and mission statements. So a vision statement is aspirational, it's long-term focused, not updated very often, doesn't specify actual targets to achieve. It's kind of about someday in the future. Whereas mission statements are a declaration of the purpose of the business. They outline the values of the business. There is an immediate time period related to this. They're updated more frequently. They're more concrete and specific in the targets they want to achieve. And it's about each and every day in the present. What is the business doing right now? Now, having mission and vision statements are generally considered good, but as is always the case in business, there are advantages and disadvantages. So they help motivate employees with the positive aspects of the business. They show their customers what the business is all about. They help align stakeholder interests with business interests, but they can sometimes be very vague and they don't always distinguish one business from another. They're often used to for public relations purposes and not always followed by the business. And they don't actually provide direction to the internal stakeholders of the business. Now, there are many business objectives, and we often think about these, first of all, in terms of the obvious ones, such as a business aims to make a profit. So this is generally considered the main objective, to reward the entrepreneur for their risk and to provide shareholder dividends. Growth is another objective, measured by sales revenue or by market share, and this is essential for survival and sort of responding to competition. And another objective is to protect the shareholder value. So if there are shareholders involved, we need to make sure that they're looked after. We focus on the long-term value for the owners, and therefore we need to balance short-term profits with sustainability. This refers to economic sustainability, so the ability of the business to continue. There are also ethical objectives. So these are moral principles that guide the decision-making, including labor and environmental ethics, and also sustainable practices that enhance the success. So it's well established in the business world that sustainable practices are encouraged because it's kind of what the customer demands these days. Other objectives include survival. So this, of course, is critical for new firms, and many firms do struggle in their early years, and there is a huge percentage of businesses that do fail. So survival is crucial. And this focuses on, in many cases, weathering economic difficulties. There is an objective of sales revenue maximization. So this is often a priority for startup businesses trying to maximize sales. And also market standing, so to become or to remain a market leader. Growth is always considered important, usually measured by an increase in its sales revenue or by market share. So this is going over in a little bit more detail, a couple of the important objectives now. It's essential for survival in order to adapt to the changing competitive business conditions. And obviously, if you fail to grow, then it could result in declining competitiveness and threaten your sustainability. And we've got a Mark Zuckerberg quote for you just there as well. Profitability, obviously, profit maximization is traditionally a major objective, providing an incentive for entrepreneurs to take risks in setting up a business. So if profit was not possible, very few businesses would start up in the first place. And another quote from famous economist Milton Friedman: one and only one social responsibility of a business to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits. Shareholder value: this is about earning a profitable return for shareholders in a sustainable way. And one challenge for the directors of the firm is to balance the short term profits, which means paying dividends to shareholders, with an investment in the long-term value of the company. Another quote there from Jack Ma from Alibaba Group. Ethical objectives: moral principles that guide decision-making and strategy, and they're concerned with what is considered to be right or wrong from the point of view of society. So therefore, business ethics are the actions of people and organizations that are considered to be morally correct. And a quote from Warren Buffett: it takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Now, ethical business practices obviously are in many cases at the forefront of businesses these days. It improves the corporate image, increases customer loyalty. It can lead to some cost cutting, and it can improve staff morale and motivation. But there might be other costs associated, which is a disadvantage. So some compliance costs. It could impact profits and lead to lower profits. And it could lead to some kind of stakeholder conflict. So stakeholders are all those that are affected by a business, and they have, in many cases, different goals that they're trying to achieve, and therefore there can be conflict when businesses opt to take on ethical practices. And this relates to the subjective nature of business ethics. People might disagree about what good ethics really are and what entails good ethics. Objectives can be strategic or they can be tactical. So, strategic are more long term organizational plans, tactical are short term in order to achieve the particular strategy, and both must fit overall in with the business's purpose. We can look at these in terms of a hierarchy if you wish. So, objectives provide businesses with a targeted direction for the future, and some are short term, some are long term. We can think of tactics as being short term, strategies a little bit more long term, more mid-term, mission, and then vision being the ultimate long-term objective of a business. And so they're often expressed from broadly, which is the vision, down to very specific, which are the tactics. And there are obviously relationships between these. So the tactical actions form the strategic approaches, the strategic plans fulfill the purpose stated in the mission, the purpose and the value from the mission will shape the behavior to turn the vision into reality. And then we get to the ideal situation of the business in the distant future, which is the vision. And all of these objectives, of course, are influenced by many things. Some are internal factors like the corporate culture or the size of the business or just the decisions of management. And then, of course, there are external factors having impact all the time. So the economy, regulations, pressure groups, technology, and businesses need to adjust these objectives and strategies over time, depending upon some of these influences. Okay, so that is business objectives. That's 1.3 done. And next lesson, we'll move on to 1.4. We'll start looking more and more into stakeholders. So we'll see you then.